What is up, wrestling fans? It is that time of the week for these guys from NI Wrestling to talk all things pro grappling and call it right down the middle. That's right, it's time for this week's edition of NI Wrestling presents Wrestling Night Live. And we are live on the Nerd Initiative YouTube channel, Twitch, X, Kick, Facebook, wherever you're watching great Nerd Initiative content. And by the way, Happy New Year, as it says on the bottom there, Happy Wrestling New Year 2025 from us here at Nerd Initiative and specifically NI Wrestling. But of course, I am your host. My name is Rich. I'm also the head of NI Wrestling. Joining me in the co-pilot's chair, he is the hardest working man in all of NI, and he's got the stats to prove it. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the host of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour podcast, better known as the ODPH. He is the host of Turn a Page, the comic book showcase, every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Nerd Initiative YouTube channel. And of course, if you haven't watched it already, why aren't you not watching the Cheersies, which went down this past Monday, not Tuesday, to rave reviews? Hell, we even had Patton Oswalt and Josh Gad stop by to accept awards. So pretty damn awesome. Make sure you go check that out. And of course, last but certainly not least, he is the man, the myth, and the legend himself behind NerdInitiative.com, because he is the editor-in-chief. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Kanem.
I'm so excited. I just can't hide it.
I knew we were going there. You're gonna crash out on caffeine pills. I just know it already. And of course, sitting in the third chair, who needs Baby New Year when you have the man who brings in the Pokemon? He also, because you got to catch them all, by the way. He also watches a lot of that pro grappling. And ladies and gentlemen, he is brought to you by Fox Editor Network this week. Because it's Max versus Netflix. Nick, ladies and gentlemen, what's up, just Nick?
The wrestling streaming wars have begun, and AEW fired the first shot. And this is not really a war because nobody really cares. But it is exciting for these things to be appearing on streaming. Let's get into it.
I was going to say, it's big news because, listen, more people can watch the products, more eyes on the product, and that's always a great thing. By the way, I'm kind of upset with myself that I didn't message you earlier. You could have done the whole Baby New Year gimmick this whole time, Nick. Instead, we missed out. Maybe next year.
Just a baby.
Maybe next year. Maybe you'll have you dress up like the dancing baby from the 90s. Yeah, there you go.
Ally McBeal baby there. Yeah.
So before we go any further, let's get you a couple things before we dive into a lot of wrestling, because we got Wrestle Kingdom to talk about, Wrestle Dynasty to talk about. Of course, we're going to be covering what happened and went down at AEW's Worlds End. And of course, the road to WWE on Netflix, including CM Punk and Seth frickin' Rollins. But before we get there, ladies and gentlemen, we have to give you a couple of things. First of all, go to the home of pop culture positivity. That's right, nerdinitiative.com. Join the revolution. You can find comics, wrestling, sports, news, TV, movies, and more. It's your one-stop shop for everything awesome, and it is pop culture positive, so make sure you drop by to the home of pop culture positivity, nerdinitiative.com. Also, if you are watching us on X, Twitch, Kick, or Facebook, make sure you're following us there, because it's awesome. Whenever we go live, we're there. However, if you're watching us on YouTube, this is done. If not, get it over to YouTube. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell icon for notifications for whenever we go live or for whenever a new video goes up. And last but not least, hit that thumbs up to let the boss, the GEO, Michael, know you want more pro wrestling and talk, period, on the home of pop culture positivity on YouTube, the Nerd Initiative YouTube channel. All right, enough about all that. Enough about all of that. It is time to talk some pro grappling, shall we, gentlemen?
Absolutely.
And let's start off with what went down this past Saturday. That's right, the last major wrestling pay-per-view of the year 2024, and that would be AEW's Worlds End. And, of course, that went down from Orlando, Florida, and they were at the Addition Financial Arena in Orlando, Florida. Shall we run down the card?
Let's do it.
So on the pre-show, I'm going to lump all the pre-show together because we'll just talk about it as one big lump in the interest of time, and then we'll go through the matches. So on the pre-show, we had 3 matches. First match of the night, Toni Storm defeated Layla Gray in 6 minutes and 50 seconds. Jeff Jarrett, the last outlaw, would defeat QT Marshall in 9 minutes and 25 seconds. And last but certainly not least on the pre-show, in an 8-man tag team extravaganza, Leo Rush, Action Andretti, and the Murder Machines, Lance Archer and Brian Cage, with Don Callis in their corner, would defeat the Outrunners, Truth Magnum and Turbo Floyd, and Top Flight Darius and Dante Martin, with Layla Gray in their corner, making Layla Gray a double loser on this night. 10 minutes and 50 seconds, so ramped it up each time.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, starting with you, Nick, what were any thoughts that jumped out to you on the pre-show?
It's pre-show. To be honest, I had it on. I wasn't fully paying attention to it because it's a pre-show. Sorry.
Get him.
Ditto with Nick. I mean, it was there. It set the tone a little bit, but nothing really stood out to really write home about, in my opinion.
My only big takeaway, nothing bad. Fine action. Gets a nice pop in, whatever. But this whole rookie Tony Storm thing and being on the open of the pre-show.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it, but is what it is. Not going to pass too much judgment. We'll let it play out. Let's dive into the actual event, shall we? First match up, speaking of start getting off awesome, one of the Continental Classics semifinal matches featuring the Billy Go himself, the aerial assassin Will Ospreay, taking on the Proto Star Kyle Fletcher. Of course, this is a rematch from the last pay-per-view where Kyle Fletcher came out on top. This match got 16 minutes and 20 seconds at the end of the day, and advancing to the finals of the Continental Classic, Will Ospreay. And he was a bloody mess.
Mm-hmm.
Ken M., your thoughts on this classic?
Great way to start the match, or start the show, I should say. Phenomenal match. Really surprised Ospreay was bleeding that bad early. I thought that was kind of an odd start in that aspect, but I thought they went over the top. And of course, Ospreay wanted to make Fletcher look like $1 million. He did. Surprised he actually got the win here, but as we go on, it made a lot of sense.
Nick, your thoughts?
Yeah, over the top. The bleeding, was a little concerned about that. It was pretty heavy, but Ospreay getting the win, I kind of predicted that. So overall, this is a fun way to start the show.
Great match, great way to get the crowd into it early. 1-1-1, so it did two purposes that night. 1-1. So now we have to have the rubber match, of course. But other than that, makes Will Ospreay go on, get a little bit of storyline going there, a little something. So after that was the second Continental Classic semifinal match. Your Continental Champion, Kazuchika Okada, the Rainmaker. Wow, I said that wrong. Taking on Ricochet. This match got 13 minutes. At the end of the day, your winner, and moving on to the Continental Classic finals, the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada. I was kind of surprised about this. I thought they were going to go with the cheap between the two, but no, we went with the fact that they have been booking Kazuchika Okada as the greatest tournament wrestler ever, comparing his 4 wins at the G1 Climax to Masahiro Chono's 5 wins.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk more about that later, but I was pleasantly surprised here. But what I was even more surprised about is after the good match between Ricochet and Okada, we had the time taken out for Swerve Strickland to come out, insult Ricochet, and then proceed to pass out rolls of toilet paper, which they showered the ring on Ricochet. And I know the word Barry gets put around, and I know what we're going to talk about, what happened on Dynamite, where out of nowhere, a la Jordan Peele from Us, Ricochet took out some gold scissors and carved up Swerve, real nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's showing that he's not going to take it. So I get that this is a story, but just an odd placement at the time. Nick, your thoughts?
The segment, the Swerve thing would have been a great segment for a Dynamite or a Collision. Doing it on the pay-per-view didn't really make sense. Circling back to the match, though, that was a lot of fun. That was phenomenal. And I wasn't shocked by the win here because Okada's the only representative of the elite right now, active in AEW. Everyone else is a little bit of hiatus. So got to keep them relevant, keep the belt on someone.
Big fan of the match myself. Ken, your thoughts?
Yeah, great match. I thought they would go a different route, but listen, you can't go wrong with Tournament Okada.
Yeah, true story. So your finals are set. Will Ospreay versus Kazuchika Okada. We'll talk about that later when it happened in the card. Next up, for the AEW Women's World Championship, it was a Tijuana street fight. Your champion, the Glamour Mariah May, taking on former AEW World Champion Thunder Rosa. This match got 13 minutes and 10 seconds at the end of the day, and still your AEW Women's World Champion, the Glamour Mariah May. Good fight, decent match. Nothing to really write home, in my opinion. But what say you, Ken?
I was a little let down by this. I mean, it was a solid match, but I was expecting a little more out of it. It definitely moved the storyline along, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was just a little disappointed personally.
Nick, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree. This is one of those things where big expectations, and it just didn't really live up to them. The jar of dirt, the graveyard dirt.
That was weird.
Yeah.
I will say this. I didn't take too much away from it because let's be honest, we all talked about it. It was kind of a thrown together match.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like there's so many other stories going on that we could have used, and it was like, okay, we're just going to do this. And that's fine. It is what it is. At the end of the day, did what it needed to do. Next up was the AEW Dynamite Diamond Ring match. Of course, the Undisputed Kingdom, Mike Bennett and Matt Taven were special guest enforcers to make sure that MJF did not use the diamond ring in this match. Did they succeed? We'll find out. But of course, your ring holder is Maxwell Jacob Friedman, and his opponent would be Adam Cole.
Baby.
That's right. This match got 14 minutes and 35 seconds. And at the end of the day, your winner, and still the Diamond Ring, say that 5 times fast, holder, the man who has only been the only man that'll ever hold that ring, MJF. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the match. I thought this match was pretty good. I thought it was funny that even in the video package, they kind of they showed the parts where Adam Cole should have probably been the heel for turning his back on MJF, but we still are going in the face. But anyways, the match itself was fantastic. I like the ending of the match. And then we had the extracurriculars, of course, getting back together, the Undisputed Era, if you will, under the banner, because Kyle O'Reilly's joined the band, brother.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Nick, your thoughts on the Dynamite Diamond Ring match?
Apparently, this is just the MJF ring. I think that'd be easier to say than the Dynamite Diamond ring. I think it would have been a little bit more interesting if that ring actually changed hands, considering it's been MJF's ring since it's been created. But overall, this was a fun match. And I think we're finally at a point where this storyline kind of fades into the background. Maybe they revisit again someday. But for now, I think this kind of fades away, which is at this point right now for the best.
Ken, your thoughts on the match?
What a difference a year makes. Honestly, a year prior, this was the hottest storyline they had going in AEW. And they obviously injuries took a big toll on it, but trying to relight the match, it failed. This was a great match. Don't get me wrong, but the storyline impact wasn't there. Kyle O'Reilly now joining the Undisputed Era / Kingdom and leaving the conglomeration. Like, okay, what are we doing here? Where does this ultimately lead to? Honestly, if the end game here is getting MJF back in the main event scene and leaving Adam Cole, baby, and everybody behind, I'm all in about it. Otherwise, this was a waste of time.
I mean, fast forward to Wednesday night. So just yesterday, as we were live on Thursday, and we got what I think is the best promo we've gotten from MJF since his return.
Yes, agreed.
Cutting a promo right after the event, blood on his face, giving the horn, saying, nobody's on the level with the devil, and basically saying what you both gentlemen just said. This was the kind of the end. Hey, you might have beat me up and you're back with your little buddies. That's great. But at the end of the day, I won the match like I said I would. So now I'm done dealing with all of that stuff because I've proven what I need to prove. Now it's time for me to get my belt back. I love how he went right after Moxley. Said, I don't care what you do about changing this place. I don't care if you burn this whole damn place to the ground, but I want my damn belt back. And that's the MJF I think we've all been waiting to see since he returned. And we had all these sidetracks and side missions, whether it was Daniel Garcia or the whole revamp thing with him and Adam Cole and rewriting history a little bit to where Adam Cole was the face and he was the heel. And I think that we're finally, mind you, we'll see in weeks to come, but I personally think after seeing what we saw on Wednesday, that we're finally on the right track with MJF. What say you, Ken?
Yeah, absolutely. It's about damn time. This is about time. MJF finally seems motivated. He finally seems like he cares to get back in and really cut this amazing promo. It was enough of the nonsense that we've seen, and now really pushing himself into the main event scene. And honestly, with sole question about who could take out Moxley, how fitting would it be that the most reluctant AEW face is going to be the one that takes him out?
And even with that, he's not even a face. He doesn't want to be a face.
Right.
He said basically, I just want my damn belt. And I do like one of the things he brought up. We saw a pre-tape, which happened the same night, of Moxley and company after their match, where Moxley proclaimed himself the king, amongst other things, saying that he would melt down that title before he ever gave it to anybody. MJF used that against him. He says, you call yourself the king, but what is a king to a god?
Yeah.
And then went on to talk about him being the devil and a god. Interesting. What's your thoughts on all of this, Nick?
It's a crowded main event scene, but I really hope MJF is right up there at the top because, he's an AEW original. He's a former champion. He's a younger guy. I mean, it'd be cool to see Cope get a run with it, but really, is it really going to be that cool? Not really. Christian, he's still there. Got that money in the bank contract. I know that's not what they're calling it, but he's got that. So I mean, it looks like Hangman and Darby and everyone else that was involved in the match is kind of moved away from it. So if this moves into MJF and then we get a Will Ospreay up there at the end of the year, that would be a lot of fun and that would be very fresh for AEW.
True that. Next up, the AEW International Championship on the line. Your champion, Kensuke Takeshita. I almost said the bad version of that. With Don Callis in his corner, taking on one of our favorites, by the way, Powerhouse Hobbs. This match got 16 minutes and 30 seconds. And at the end of the day, and still your AEW International Champion, Takeshita. Listen, I want to say this before I patch these guys. I thought that this was a big spotlight, like we said it was for Will Hobbs. I think Will Hobbs went out there and had a hell of a performance. Mind you, there was some spots in the match that I think that they tried to do too much in. And I think that they really tried to steal the show. And I think that's why they didn't quite steal the show. Because, it is what it is. But I got to give kudos to both guys. They went out there. They had a hard-hitting battle. And I thought that they both came out looking damn good. Will Hobbs got one hell of a reception after he lost the match even. So I think this really did help both guys. Was it perfect? No. There were some rough edges. And once again, I just think it's because they tried too much. But at the same time, kudos to both guys. Nick, what were your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I would agree. Some rough edges there. A couple of things didn't really work out. But at the end of the day, you had just two guys beating the snot out of each other for the most part. And that part did work. So I'd like to see it roll back sometime. Maybe now, knowing what worked and what didn't work, you could probably see a little cleaner, crisper performance between the two.
Maybe not swing for the fences. Just hit a nice solid one, which would probably get driving the game-winning run, honestly.
Just swing at each other.
This was everything I wanted to see. And honestly, I'm not mad about the missed spots because I applaud both of them for going for the fences. I thought that maybe this was overlooked by some fans. So the fact that they wanted to go out there and steal the show, listen, I'd rather have them do that than play it too safe. And they went out there, and I agree. I need to see this get ran back. And I think now they know what works and what doesn't, and we'll have an even better match when that happens.
Like, even with some of the botches they did with going for the fences, it still didn't turn out too bad. Like, that's my whole point. Like, you can crucify a match with this, like, well, what about when he slipped off the rope? Or what about this or that? Hey, they went for it. And listen, if they would have succeeded, we'd have been sitting here talking about how this was match of the year candidate.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's the weird part about it. Like, I really think that that's the case. So it's not like I'm going to crucify these guys for going out there. They were in a spot on the card. Both guys, I think Will Hobbs has never really had the opportunity, and Takeshita has had that off on kind of thing going on. Both guys went in there and went, hey, how can we come out of this match looking better? They both did. Mind you, yes, they fell short of, I think, what the end goal was. But if they didn't swing for the fences here, were they going to get another opportunity? The answer is no.
Right.
The answer is no. And once again, I think Will Hobbs threw this match on purpose just because he didn't want to fight the Stone Pipple coming up on Sunday or Saturday, depending upon where you're living. Okay. So we'll talk about that later on. Next up, the AEW TBS Championship was on the line, and it's Nick's favorite wrestler, your AEW TBS champion, the CEO, Mercedes Money. And she was taking on a rematch from the last pay-per-view, Chris Statlander. This match got the longest of the night, by the way, 24 minutes, 35 seconds. And at the end of the day, your forever AEW TBS champion, Mercedes Money. All right. Kicking us off. I thought this match was good. Very good. Was it as good as their first match? I don't think so. However, that's not crucifying it. I still think this was very good. My only qualm with the whole match, I think both women went out there, threw on one hell of a performance, but without Statlander winning, what was the point of running this thing back?
Agreed.
And that is my only big issue with it. There was really no reason to run it back. For seeing a great match, sure. Hands off. Great match. But I'm just kind of like, hey, our forever champ. Just like when we talked about Ring of Honor last week. Athena, the forever champ. Why don't you just put the two forever champs against each other?
Yeah, exactly.
One of them's got to lose at that point, right?
In theory, it'll just be a Broadway.
Yeah, just go an hour Broadway, call it a day. So, Ken, what are your thoughts on Monet versus Statlander?
I echo your statements 100%. This was the time to make a title change. They didn't because, well, obviously Monet's going over to Wrestle Kingdom. That takes a little precedent. So doing this match, I thought really hurt a little bit. And it's nothing against what Statlander and Monet did in the ring. They had a great match. And I agree with you. It wasn't as great as their first one. That one set a very, very high bar. So trying to recapture that was going to be tough. They got close. But at the end of the day, the result should have been to do the title change. They didn't. I understand why. But then again, you have to argue, why was this even on the match?
Agreed.
Card.
Nick, your thoughts?
This is a situation where AEW should maybe steal a page from WWE. If you really want Mercedes Moné and you really want Statlander to have some sort of a match on your pay-per-view, you need that WWE trick, which is you throw them in a tag team. That way you get those kind of moments of them interacting. But when you have a women's division in AEW that's still very underutilized, there's so many talented women. We run through it. There's so many. To not see other people involved in this, where you could throw together some sort of a really epic tag team match or a four-way dance like we saw for the main event, what else are we doing here? And like you said, the forever champ that's just never going to lose it. We had that before with the TBS title, and it didn't work then, and we're doing it again.
So I want to throw this one out here. If I was booking this is what I would have done. And I would have used the same people, but I would have done something a little different. Julia Hart, who's been an MVP of the company, made her return on Dynamite. I would have taken that match between Jamie Hayter and Julia Hart and put that on the show, World's End, on the main card. And then what I would have done, because we were just throwing stuff together anyways, is I would have done the unlikely duos. I would have done Thunder Rosa tagging with Chris Statlander to take on Mariah May and Mercedes Money. And then what you can always do there is have, if you don't want to have Monet take the pin, you have Mariah take the pin from Chris Statlander, which builds Chris Statlander up, puts her in a program with Mariah May, which she doesn't have to win the belt, but at least it puts her in a program with it. And it still keeps Mercedes Money looking great. And you could have done, to protect Mariah, you could have done that there was, dissension in the ranks between her and Money. You know what I mean? Because eventually Money wants that belt.
Right.
Because she's coming for all the gold. She's Queen Midas. That's fine. It's fine. It just would have been better, in my opinion. Instead, we got a really good match on Dynamite with Jamie Hayter. And so I'm not mad there because we got a really good match. But Julia Hart, I think, deserved a pay-per-view spot for her return.
Oh, absolutely. Her and Hayter. Absolutely. Both of them did.
So with that saying, we next matchup was the Continental Classic Final. Going in, your Continental Classic champion, Kazuchika Okada, the Rainmaker, going for his 5th major tournament with an asterisk. Taking on the Billy Goat, Will Ospreay. This match got 19 minutes and 15 seconds. At the end of the day, your winner, and still, but also the 2024 Continental Classic winner, Kazuchika Okada, the Rainmaker, who now has 5, with an asterisk, major tournaments under his shoulder. I love how they're saying that he tied Masahiro Chono, who has 5 G1 Climax wins. So putting the Continental Classic in the same limelight as the G1 Climax, as a diehard New Japan fan, don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how their partners at New Japan should feel about that. Just putting that out there. Do I think Okada is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time? I've said it a million times. Do I think he's underutilized in AEW? I've also said that a million times. Do I think he's better than Masahiro Chono? Maybe when the story is completely wrote, he will be. But as of right now, I don't think so. Time will tell if he has more success in the States than Masahiro Chono did. Because his in the stateside stuff wasn't great with the NWO. But once again, other than saying bitch and having a couple good matches, not standing over them, what has Okada done? We'll talk about what happened after the match but just looking at the match alone, Nick, what are your thoughts on the Continental Classic Final?
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. This was really awesome. I really enjoyed this match. two guys that know each other very well. They know how to work together, and they went out and they had a banger. What did they reinvent the wheel here? Not exactly, but I had a lot of fun with this match, and the right person won because we did not want to see Ospreay saddled with that title. It's not where he should be.
True, but it was a good swerve with him being injured earlier in the night. You thought that they're going to do that baby face. He comes and wins from behind, and then Okada snatches from him. I did like at the end, and I get your opinion on everything here, Ken, but I liked at the end of the match there was a little exchange, like non-verbal exchange, like kind of respect exchange, like real life. You could tell Okada was proud of his, because remember, at one point, Junction Will Ospreay was a protege to Kazuchika Okada. And going into this final, Will Ospreay even said that he looked at him as a mentor and a big brother, and he was going to, look forward to this match. And so there was an exchange that you could see that was personal between the two of them without exchanging words or shaking hands or anything, where it's kind of like big brother was proud that little brother came out there and gave it his all, even though he didn't win.
Right.
So your thoughts on the match, Ken?
Match of the night, in my opinion. But then again, you have two masters of their craft. So they went out there, they knew each other very well. They could tell a great story. This is a fight forever. And they really want to make a statement here on the card. And I didn't mind the mutual respect at the end. I thought that for what they want to do with the tournament and how they love to emulate the G1, I thought this was a great way to end it. It wasn't anything about storyline. It was just about mutual respect. And I'm okay with this.
And I love how the number 2 seeds both made it to the finals. By the way. the number 2 seeds in both the Gold and Blue League were the finals. So after the match, though, when it was time to crown the Continental Classic champion, to give them the AEW Continental Championship, I should say, out came EVP, acting EVP, Christopher Daniels. And he said, hey, this is where I normally come down and give you the belt, but I'm not going to do that. To which Garrett went, well, was he turned heel?
Yeah.
And he said, no, because I'm no longer the EVP, because the rightful EVP is back. And of course, we get the music of one Kenny Omega. So the cleaner, aka the best bout machine, aka the Terminator, aka the best wrestler in the world, aka whatever else you want to say about Kenny Omega, because it's true at this point in juncture, let's be honest. The Michael Jordan of AEW for sure. Might even be the Michael Jordan of wrestling currently. I don't know if he's lost anything in the ring. We'll find out soon, because he's got a big date we're going to talk about later tonight. He came down and he handed the belt to Okada, and we had a little stare down, kind of foreshadowing probably where we're going, which, let's be honest, we all knew that was going to happen eventually. So looks like Omega. The only thing that was disappointing to me is that, hey, I think that they should have left Omega's return to Wrestle Dynasty, which is a co-promoted show. I understand that allegedly there was a rumor that he was going to return at Wrestle Kingdom, and then Tony didn't want him to return at Wrestle Kingdom, so there's already a favor there. He's already returning on a joint show, a big show that you want to sell this upcoming weekend. I'm not upset about the stare down, but I thought that this was kind of one of those things you could have saved, in my opinion. But still happy to see Omega back. Your thoughts on this, Nick?
I have to agree. I think it should have been saved. And it just kind of leaves me questioning, where does Okada go from here? Is he moving more towards a face? He kind of got a better crowd reaction from that than he would as a heel. Is Kenny going to feud with him and the Elite overall? I mean, to me, it's just kind of left a lot of open questions. And I think it would have been better served for him to come back in a more neutral way, like you talked about, and then, develop from there.
Agreed. Ken?
Wasted moment. An absolutely wasted moment. Don't get me wrong, happy to see Omega back, but this was all to build up for All In 2025, because they even did the one thing right, which I'll applaud them about this: the camera shot with the banner in the background. That was great. Did not mind that, but
that was a good shot.
Yeah, that was good. So we call it down the middle. That production shot, excellent. However, that moment with Omega coming back just to hand off the belt, set this up for a show that is months away. And it's not like this is the first time these two have faced off. This is a classic feud. We don't need this much of a buildup to just get them there. And especially to overshadow the events that are coming down this weekend in New Japan, I thought was a very big miscue.
Here's my thing. If they were going to have the comeback like they did, I think they should have handled it differently in one of two ways. I feel like they got the great shot. Don't get me wrong. Foreshadowing, what I'm agreeing with you. That's why that shot happened. Perfect. Great that the cameraman was in position. We got the shot of Okada standing there, Omega standing there, literally the banner for All In behind them. Okay. Yep. Perfect shot. Wonderful. Loved it. Cool. Here's my problem though. one of two things could have happened that would have made this a lot better. A, when Omega came down, handed him the belt, and Okada lifted that belt up, Omega should have reverted, not to be a heel, because we know he's the face here. He should have reverted to kind of that cocky, arrogant cleaner that we know, best bout machine, smirked at him, and then nonchalantly just left the ring like he didn't care, leaving Okada to be a little angry, facially be a little angry that his biggest rival doesn't care that he has this belt. And Omega can later on cut in a promo, not the same night, but it'll go, hey, why do I care that you're Continental Champion? I've been AEW Champion.
Mm-hmm.
I've been the World Champion. And last I knew, in our great matches, I came out on top. So I have nothing to prove against you, Okada. You have something to prove against me. And you make it chase that way.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have Omega come in, Okada be smirking, and Omega just drop the belt at his feet. And then give him a V-trigger.
Yeah.
And leave the ring strong. With basically Okada licking his wounds, the crowd would have popped. And you could have just gone that way. Now, I think it would have been a little too soon since you're building it up over time. So the first one would have worked better. But do something a little more than they kind of had this awkward stare down. Mm-hmm. It wasn't even like threatening or anything, but it did lead to one great shot. My opinion.
Mm-hmm. No, fully agree with you.
Main event time. 4-way for the AEW World Championship. Our champion, the Death Rider. The leader of the Death Riders, by the way, also the Death Rider, Jon Moxley, with Marina Shafir in his corner, because she has to have the briefcase tied to her wrist via handcuff at all times. Taking on freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, the Hangman Adam Page, or as I like to call him, the TA Hangman Page. And of course, we have the Switchblade Jay White. This match got 17 minutes flat at the end of the day, and still your AEW World Champion, Jon Moxley. By the way, when Team AEW was working as a cohesive unit, they took out Moxley, including giving him a Shield style 3-man power bomb through a table, like vicious as hell. But then, as they unraveled, so did everything else. Of course, Marina Shafir gets involved, Wheeler Yuta gets involved, Claudio Castagnoli gets involved, everybody gets involved, and then finally leading to, of course, Moxley retaining. We'll talk about post-match in a second, but let's just talk about the match first. Ken, what were your thoughts on the world title match?
Disappointed. I thought it was very short, which I'm not mad the pay-per-view was over before midnight, so kudos to that.
Cheers to that. I'll raise a drink. Cheers.
Yes. But I just thought that this was a great Collision main event. It just had that vibe to it once they got rolling. This didn't really feel like a main event match to me. It was solid for what it was, but it was like, get our stuff in and get out. Nick,
your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. For a match with 4 main eventers in it, it just didn't really feel that special. Didn't really feel that epic, and that's disappointing with the talent involved. The Shield powerbomb spot was nice. There was a couple other spots that were really nice, but overall, I was a little disappointed. A little paint by the numbers here.
So after the match, the Death Riders were trying to give the old Brian Pillman to Switchblade Jay White. That's until we got the return in the music of the FTR. That's right. Dax Harwood, Cash Wheeler make their return. But they weren't alone, because all of a sudden we hear, "You think you know me." And that's right. The return of the Rated R superstar. I love how he says that. Cope. That's right. I didn't say it wrong. No longer is it Adam Copeland. They just are calling him Cope, which if you're a redneck or you've been around rednecks is usually what they call Copenhagen for short. So interesting choice of name. So anyways, return of that. And now we have Rated FTR on the hunt. And of course, listen, we got to give it up for Cope. He made the trifecta. He has now officially been able to crossface with the bar of a chair every member of the Shield.
Yeah.
Because he finally pulled off the hat trick with Jon Moxley, and that's how we ended the pay-per-view. Your thoughts about the return of Rated FTR? And of course, on Wednesday on Dynamite, we saw them in a match against the Death Riders, which Rated FTR would come out on top of that match, pinning, of course, Wheeler Yuta, because that's what he's there for.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts on the return of Rated FTR and where they're going, starting with you, Nick.
I'm going to need some good coping skills to deal with the Cope being pushed down our throats. It's just, I like Cope. I like Adam Copeland, Edge. I like FTR. But I just so the post match is all former WWE guys and Wheeler Yuta just kind of mixing it up, and that's where we're going with it. And all the other guys that were involved in this main event just disappear from the title scene. No wonder why they were phoning in it, because it's like, oh, this is over. We filled time for Copeland to come back, and now we're just going to go back to doing whatever. I don't know. Didn't really like it.
Ken, jump on in here. Let us know what you're thinking, man.
To be honest, I understand the name shortening because you think about it. But hear me out. I like it, but I don't like it because you don't need to make it a graphic. See, it's like John Moxley. We all say Mox. Everybody knows who it is. So if you want to do that with Cope and Copeland, okay. But I don't think we need to put it on a graphic and have the announcers say it. Because how many times do they say Mox? It's more for the promos. It's more for that reason. So that's what they should have kept it with. So seeing that was kind of like, okay, let's see how this rolls. But I'm not as mad about it as I once was. Just the initial shock of it was like, wait, what is this a typo? But then we get into this, and yeah, I agree with you, Nick. I mean, seeing that Copeland's record since he has returned to wrestling and his win-loss of feuds is, I believe, everything except one. I could understand where this might be going. So, which we have to do that. And of course, we love you, Solo.
I love you, Solo.
Thank you. So that being said, I'm not super thrilled with where this is going because, I mean, it would make sense if he is the one to defeat Moxley, but I think you have to give it to somebody that is in that homegrown talent area, like an MJF or even a Darby, even though I'm not a fan of that one.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said there. I actually agree with everything you just said there. By the way, we've been making the joke on here for a long time. It's pretty much at this point Adam Hogan, because they ain't going to work for me, brother. The only exception to not putting over somebody was Roman Reigns. And allegedly, the fact that he tried to politic beating Roman Reigns is what ended up with him and Bryan Danielson getting stacked.
Mm-hmm.
Because the pushback from Triple H was pretty much, you don't want to do the JOB, brother? Okay, you're going to both do the JOB now.
Yes.
Before it might have been just one of you. Now we're just going to put over Roman huge. As Roman Reigns should be put over. He's Roman Reigns. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Tribal Chief. So overall, though, I got to say, I did enjoy World's End. I thought it was a very good pay-per-view. A lot of great in-ring stuff. Some of the storyline stuff was a little bit confusing. Some of the ways we got to some of the matches was confusing, but I think overall it was definitely a solid show. Definitely do not regret seeing it. I agree with what you said earlier. I think Ospreay versus Okada was the match of the night. Very good match. Giving big kudos to Powerhouse Hobbs and Takeshita for having a solid match. MJF and Adam Cole actually pulled off a really nice match. I didn't like the post, but you know what? I love the match. So overall, you got to give the devil the due. AEW put on one hell of a show to end out the pay-per-view year. With that being said, though, before we start talking New Japan Pro Wrestling, because we have two huge shows pre-show, we are going to talk a little bit of WWE, and of course, Netflix is right around the corner. But before we get to Netflix, ladies and gentlemen, on Monday Night Raw, we had probably one of the greatest ending segments that we've had in quite some time for the last Raw on USA Network. Ladies and gentlemen, as you see there, we got Pepsi Phil staring it down with Tyler Black or Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins and CM Punk throwing bombs at each other, ladies and gentlemen. Throwing bombs. Yeah, I downloaded the wrong photo, so thank you, Ken. Usually the logos are there, but there you go. So they were throwing bombs. It's not AEW. We're not going to take it down. Don't worry. They're throwing bombs at each other on the microphone. Of course, CM Punk basically calling Seth Rollins his little brother and how he was disappointed to leave. I mean, once again, taking everything out on me. Did you talk you down on Stone Cold when he took his ball home or went home? Or how about Becky Lynch? We ain't seen her in a while. Nice little shot there. Of course, the fire back from Seth Rollins being, hey, my wife is at home raising a child. You know nothing about that. Tapping into his little Kendrick Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
These two men's blood feud is going to come to a head on January 6th on the first Monday Night Raw on Netflix. So this upcoming Monday. Gentlemen, tell me what you thought about the promo and what you're looking forward to on the presumable main event of the very first Netflix Raw. Start with you, Ken.
Amazing promo. Two people that really don't like each other, and you can tell but they can do some business. And this is how it works because they had no problem taking the jabs. Everything was there, built the crowd up. They don't need to even do anything more until the show. And I think it already sold itself that if it's not the main event, because I know Roman and Solo are going to be on the card as well, depending if The Rock is coming back to get involved, this should be your main event. And this will live up to the hype. And I honestly don't know who's going to win. I want to lean Punk, but it's hard to go against Monday Night Rollins.
All right, Nick, your thoughts?
CM Punk's been back a little over a year now. And him and Seth just did honestly their best work of the year since Punk's been back. Punk's had some great segments. He had some really good lines when he was working with McIntyre, but overall McIntyre really, really, really stepped up and a lot of times overshadowed Punk with the mic work. But here, Punk reminded everyone he could still go, and Seth reminded everyone he could still go on the mic. And I don't know. I don't think we get a proper finish on Netflix. I think you're going to get some sort of a schmaz or a DQ or something because they're going to want to run this back, and they're going to run it back quickly. Maybe as quick as Royal Rumble.
So I will throw this out here. I'm gonna turn over to Netflix now because obviously this is the main event of the show. This is what they booked. This was just the main event, and there was nothing else happening on the show. I think you're giving a big bucket of win to Netflix for the first week. However, let's talk about some rumor and innuendo. Let's talk about what's floating out in the ether, if you will. What could be happening at this show. So I know you mentioned it earlier. It's not official. There's a heavy rumor that we're going to get Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa in a tribal warfare match for the Ula Fala. And there's a lot of speculation on whether we're going to get, Roman or not, whether we're going to get The Rock or not, which this newsflash, I think we're getting The Rock on Netflix. I'd be kind of surprised if we don't see The Rock. Whether that match happens or not, it's irrelevant. I think we see The Rock on Netflix. The final boss has to show up, right?
Mm-hmm.
No matter what. But we might get that match. Also, the return of Becky Lynch has been floated out there.
Yep.
Other major stars have been noted to return. There's been talk of maybe a Steve Austin appearance or Undertaker appearance or that ilk, right?
Mm-hmm.
But on top of all of that, we now know, and it's pretty much locked in. It's not a promise yet, but we now know that WWE is going to take and have a new superstar possibly debut in a giant match. Because next week, we do know that the New Day on the first episode of Raw on Netflix will take on Rey Mysterio and a partner of his choosing.
Mm-hmm.
This past week on Raw, the graphic finally shown. We already knew who it was, but now it's no secret that Pentagon is now headed to WWE. It looks like we're probably going to have Penta and Rey against the New Day. Talk about a huge show to debut a huge star. Let me ask you this. All of what I just said, what do you guys think is going to happen? What are you guys hoping for? What is it at the end of the day? We're first Raw on Netflix. Start with you, Nick. What do you got? Pitch it out.
Well, I don't even know if I can pitch anything greater than that, except you forgot one of the biggest things. Probably maybe the biggest story.
Pat McAfee?
You can't see me. You're going to be able to see him because this is it. The countdown starts. One more year in wrestling. So
once again, that is not officially launched yet, but I'm sure he will be there.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? He's. It's been well noted. He's going to be full time this year. He's got plenty of commitments he's made to the company that he will be there all year long. So I mean, wouldn't you start right off the get go here?
Could you imagine at the end of the show? You end up with a 3-man power trip that's been pitched for a while now with Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, and Kevin Owens, beating down CM Punk, and maybe Cody Rhodes tries to make the save. That's why Owens is out there. They're beating them down. And then all of a sudden to make the save, you get I'm not saying that has to happen, but how great would that be? And here he comes. By the way, he's growing his hair out to be like old John Cena style. I don't know if you noticed that or not.
I started picking up on that, which is a good move.
I'm loving it. Ken, what's your pitches? What do you think's going down, brother?
Well, super chat, definitely throw your picks in as well. What's your surprises for Raw is Netflix happening next week? What's going on, Kat? I'm going to say this. I think that Penta turns heel on Rey.
Ooh.
Yes.
Because I need this. I need a heel Pentagon, much like Lucha Underground. Yep. I think I heard that the Women's Intercontinental Finals has been pushed back to give it a larger spotlight on Raw the following week, which I'm actually okay with, because I really think that moment deserves it. It's all its spotlight. I think we're getting John Cena. I think we're getting The Rock. I think there'll be something going on there. And I do think the 3-man power trip is going to form and end the show. And maybe this is where Cody Rhodes bumps into Karrion Kross, starting the path to the Rhodes Lander. And I've been waiting for this to happen. So I'm throwing that karma out in the world. But this is going to be a phenomenal show. This is going to be literally must-see TV.
Ken's not going home. He's going big, brother.
Yeah.
Going big. Oh, it's going to be must-see TV regardless. I will point this out, though. There would be a tie-in for Pentagon to turn. If you wanted to make it real life, which they've been doing a lot lately, you have to remember, I'm not saying that he unalived a man, but remember, Pentagon was in Perros del Mal, of course, led by Paragoya, the legendary Paragoya.
Mm-hmm.
Paragoya died in the ring, and it was Rey Mysterio who, was supposed to deliver a 619, but he died in the ring before he did. So obviously, no, he did not unalive anybody, even though that's a joke I've made in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But that could be something you could technically use. Like, why would I be friends with a guy who took out my friend?
Yeah.
I mean, it's Netflix. We can do anything, baby.
Right. I was going to say,
baby.
You never know. I mean, they might tease a certain other Lucha member and saying the reason he's not here is because of you.
Ooh.
And just tease that storyline to keep the name out there without saying said name.
Ooh, I like it too. There's a lot of things we can do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. So I think it's going to be, honestly, they're going to want to make an impact. I mean, they left them. I thought that they weren't making enough impact on Raw until that final segment. I was like, okay, never mind. They went out with a bang.
Mm-hmm.
They I think that they built the show the right way. It wasn't a bad show, but I'm like, well, for the final one, after all these years on USA, kind of interesting that they didn't go balls to the wall. 2 reasons I think is because SmackDown is still going to be on USA. By the way, going to 3 hours.
Yes.
That is most notable. And then secondly, I really think that they built the show around that final segment, which made that final segment, which was amazing, even that much better. And that's old school booking, brother. Take us to that final.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. When we were talking about AEW putting on some good TV, they were doing those stories throughout the show. You remember in the beginning a little bit, middle a little bit, and then paying it off at the end.
Yeah.
That's wrestling 101. And Triple H knows that, and they went back to that. And I think because of the Netflix deal, I think that you're not going to want to mix the January 6th Netflix on Raw, or Raw on Netflix. I said it backwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look, I can't even talk right now. Because I think it's going to be one of the biggest shows in WWE history.
Oh, completely.
They're going to swing for the fences. They're going to win.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, all the people we are speculating, I think it's going to be bigger than that.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to be, baby.
Yeah.
And even somebody might come out with a bicycle.
Yeah.
You got a bicycle, Ken. They missed that at the Lucha, the Tijuana street fight.
Yes, they did.
Using the bicycle on here. It's a bicycle.
Oh, man.
R.I.P. to the legendary Dusty Rhodes, baby. If you know, you know.
Indeed.
If you know, you know.
Kat popped in the chat saying it now. If Rollins beats Punk, she will be happy.
Listen, I think it'll be a good move. Going forward, where are you going to go? You got to have the heel win first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest. We have to think that Seth Rollins is the heel in this.
He's always a better heel, so he should be.
He should come back out as the Monday Night Messiah.
Ooh, yes.
I'm telling you, the 3-man power trip's coming. And I wouldn't be surprised if Raw on Netflix, Raw on Netflix is, I said it right that time. I questioned myself. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the place for it. Yeah. Quite honestly. Well, that's enough about WWE and Raw, because that's coming up. And next week, we're going to be talking about that on now. Trust me, it's going to be a great show. However, listen, this is my moment to get on a soapbox to talk to you, the Wrestling Night Live audience, because my favorite day of the year is coming up, January the 4th. Wrestle Kingdom 19 from the Tokyo Dome in Tokyo, Japan. This is my favorite day of the year. I will be getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning. As you see, that is not a typo. This show will happen on January the 4th at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mm-hmm. I'm giving out the East Coast times. Do your time zones from there. I'm just throwing it out. We know Rich do not be responsible for time zones. You could ask Nick. I'm not responsible for time zones.
Not responsible.
So some places in the world is going to be later in the day, because I do believe Tokyo time, I believe it's 8 p.m. Tokyo time, roughly. I do believe that's when Wrestle Kingdom's going down, 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. Tokyo time. But anyways, it's 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Rich will be up. Don't you worry. Let's run down the card. A lot of these matches, a lot of people might not know, so I'm not going to break them down kind of like we do. We'll kind of do a little more, hey, we'll do our picks and kind of like a little something. It's not because I'm under talking them. I just don't want to go gloating about things that people and over explaining things that you might not people don't watch. I do think you should get NJPWworld.com for this event. Even if you don't keep it after, it's 999 yen, which is $9 American.
Mm-hmm.
If you live in the US, do the different currency ratio from wherever you are, listen to us around the world. And this is definitely worth it. Even if you don't get up at 3 a.m. to watch it, you can watch the replay.
Yes.
Also, as of right now, I am seeing the Wrestle Dynasty is also going live in the States from New Japan World. I don't know if that's going to continue on, but as of right now, it showed that I could get it here in the States without me changing on VPN. Nothing shady. So you could get two for. We'll talk about that card in a minute because it comes second. So first up, and this is going to be on the pre-show. This will be what is at 3 a.m. And usually this match is for the King of Pro Wrestling provincial title. So what happens is the Rambo happens. They get down to the final four guys. Those final four guys, they wrestle in a match, a four-way match on day 2, which would be usually New Year's Dash. And the winner becomes the King of Pro Wrestling champion. That champion usually gets a title shot sometime during the year. It can change hands. However, this year it's a little different because the next day isn't New Year's Dash. Instead, it is Wrestle Dynasty. So here's what they're doing for the Rambo. The New Japan Rambo, which is basically a Royal Rumble, just so you think about it that way. It will determine the number 1 contender for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. So whoever wins, Royal Rumble style, will get a shot at the IWGP or World Heavyweight Championship. Guaranteed.
Okay.
There is no people listed so far because they like to do it all by surprise. Because there's AEW guys in the house, I'm sure we're going to have some AEW talent in that. I'm sure we're going to have some legends of the ring because it wasn't that long ago that we saw Fujita in the match. We've seen Hamna in the match. We've seen a ton of legends in this match. Jushin Liger, before he retired, was in this match a lot. Like, it's a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we'll see Murder Grandpa.
Yes.
Let's be honest. So you're going to want to check this out. Once again, even if you don't watch it live, that's fine. You're going to want to check this out. So let's get into the actual card. The actual card has 9 matches on it. First up is a 4-way match for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships, and it is a Tokyo Terror ladder match. That's right, it's a ladder match, and it's a 4-way one. Your IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, the Intergalactic Jet Setters, Kevin Knight and Kushida, will defend the titles against the Ichiban Sweet Boys, Robbie Eagles and Kosai Fujita, Catch 2-2, TJP and Francisco Akira, and last but certainly not least, one of Ken's favorite teams, the Bullet Club War Dogs, Clark Connors and Drilla Maloney. And outside of Gabe Kidd, Drilla Maloney, I think, is one of Ken's favorites.
Yes.
So, Ken, I don't even have to ask.
Yeah, you already know. You already know.
The Bullet Club is taking the belts back to War Dogs.
War Dogs for life.
Nick, who you got to pick in this one?
I have to pick War Dogs because I don't want Ken to beat me up.
Listen, I really want to see the Ichiban Sweet Boys win, just because I love that tag team name.
The name is great, but yeah.
But I do think the War Dogs have the edge of winning this match. Next up, we have the IWGP Women's Championship on the line. Your champion, Mayu Iwatani, taking on Azum. This match is going to be phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of weirded out that the IWGP Women's Championship is not on the line the next night. We'll talk about that later. But one of these women is walking out champion. Do you got Ann Still or Ann New? Starting with you, Nick.
I'm going with Ann Still here. I don't see this title changing hands yet.
Ken.
And Still.
I'm going to go on the limb. I'm going to say Ann New.
Ooh.
All right. Okay.
Amazing. Both of them are amazing. Let's be honest. Iwatani is one of the greatest wrestlers ever. Just throwing it out. Next up, we have a 4-way match for the NJPW World Television Championship. Our champion, representing the Bullet Club House of Torture, and one of the 3 Musketeers, Ren Narita. He's defending against former champion Jeff Cobb, representing Pro Wrestling. He used to be Pro Wrestling Noah. He was representing Owa. And then El Fantasmo, which let's get it out there for him. I know he doesn't do the Bullet Club thing anymore, but let's go. Let's get him out there for him. This is a 4-way. This is for the TV title. I'll go first this time since we're doing the round. I think it's going to be a big night for the Musketeers, so I'm going to say Ann Still, but I will be rooting for Al Fantasmo. Let's be honest. Ken, your pick.
Fantasmo.
Oh, you're going just in. I knew. Yep. All right. And go ahead, Nick.
I was saying Ann Still, and I think we, the 3 of us, need to steal the Musketeers gimmick. So
Yes. Next match is a lumberjack match. And it is between your president of New Japan Pro Wrestling, the ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi. And he will take on All That Is Evil, the leader of the Bullet Club House of Torture. If Tanahashi loses this match, he must retire from in-ring competition. Going into this, we thought that we were going to have Omega versus Tanahashi.
Mm-hmm.
That got shuffled. They've done this whole thing. At one point in juncture, Evil beat down Tanahashi and made the President Evil shirts. They've done a little job here. Is this it for the ace, Ken M?
No, go Ace.
Oh, go ace.
For one more day.
Nick.
Yeah, I'm going with Ace in this. I don't see him retiring yet. Not yet. This could be the year, but I just don't see it here.
I see Kat say that the ace has to win this straight up. I'm going to tell you what. I think we get one more guitar solo. One more air guitar solo from the ace. I think the ace takes this match by surprise. I don't think the ace is going to retire here. I'm kind of hoping that I think if Omega would have taken on Tanahashi, this would have been his last match.
Then it would have been done.
I think that they're going to work that down the road, and I think that possibly will happen down the road. I think Tanahashi wanted to give that honor to Omega, so I don't see him changing his mind. Although, if they do pull the trigger, I wouldn't be disappointed either because Evil has been a workhorse for that company for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
He deserves it. Next up, it is winner takes all. In one corner, you will have the never openweight champion, the Dragon himself, Shingo Takagi. And in the other corner, you will have the AEW International Champion. That's right, the Alpha, Takeshita. One of these men will walk out, both the never openweight champion and the AEW International Champion. This is a hard match. Shingo Takagi, one of the legends of the ring, especially in Japanese wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Takeshita is another beast in New Japan. We saw that when he was there for an extended stay this past year. Nick, you get to go first. This is an unenviable task for you. Who is walking out as your both never openweight champion and AEW International Champion?
Oh, I just want to say in still, but I know that doesn't make sense. But I gotta pick someone.
Actually, if you cut yourself off and just stay in still, you win. Because no matter what, one of them is in still.
All right. No,
Look at I'm giving you a loophole.
No, I'm gonna go with Takeshita in this match.
I think Papa TK ain't letting that belt go. So I'm gonna say Takeshita. Although it's not a bad thing because that means more Takeshita in New Japan. So I'm going with Takeshita. Ken.
Takeshita for what you just said. Him in New Japan, I think after him and Hobbs were done, I think he was going to be over there for a little bit again, which is fine. I am happy about that because him in New Japan is amazing.
I would love to see Shingo win.
Yeah, me too.
Big Shingo Takagi fan.
But with it being, winner take all, I think that plays into that. Oh, Kat's going different.
She's going with Shingo.
The Dragon could sneak in and pull out a very lucky win.
I could dig that. I can dig the Dragon winning. Next up, though, we got the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship match. And this is a fight forever, by the way. If you guys haven't been paying attention to New Japan, this match has been a feud has been going on for a while. And it is amazing. On one side, you will have the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, Doki. On the other side, you will have a former multi-time IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. Oh, yeah, and by the way, a dude that sometimes decides that he's going to moonlight in death matches and GCW. Shout out to GCW.
Yes.
And that would be, of course, one of our favorites, El Desperado. So Despy going after that IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Who's walking out? I get to go. I get to go first on this one. Man, I like Doki, but I'm never turning away from El Desperado. Desperado once again owns Wrestle Kingdom and owns the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. I said it. Your pick, Ken.
Despy all day. Despy is not losing this one.
Nick.
The Musketeers agree. Despy.
Listen, I love El Desperado. He needs to walk out the champion. Next up, IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship on the line. Who do we got? Your champion and the leader of the Bullet Club War Dogs, David Finlay. And he's going to go up against a big challenge because this man is known to be one of the best wrestlers, young up-and-coming wrestlers in the world today. He is a member of the Three Musketeers of New Japan Pro Wrestling. It is Yota Tsuji. Yota Tsuji has come up in the past before, short on becoming world champion.
Mm-hmm.
Is it his time? Is it the Musketeer time? Ken, you get to go first on this one. Who's walking out global heavyweight champion?
Yota Tsuji.
Who? The Musketeers, 2-0.
Mhm.
Nick.
Same.
And you know what? Let's make it a three-peat. The Musketeers are going 3-0 in this one. We'll talk about the last one in a minute. It's going to be Yota Tsuji walking out your global heavyweight champion. Next up, though, is a match of two guys who have been, great friends for a while. They've been teammates for a long time, but finally it had to come to a head. Is it time for the student to take out the teacher? Is this the teacher's last run? We heard a lot of rumors last year when this man entered the main event of Wrestle Kingdom and did become your IWGP World Champion in that match after winning the G1 Climax in surprising fashion. And, finding out that he has a lot of health issues came in there. But of course, that I'm talking about the leader of LIJ,
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, and Ken can attest to
Yes,
this.
this is facts.
Tetsuya Naito. But he's taking on another man that I have a great love for. And that, of course, is the ticking time bomb, Hamaru Takahashi. Takahashi wants to he's not dishonoring Naito here, but he said that he wants to now go into that heavyweight division. He wants to follow the guys before him, like Naito, who went from the junior heavyweight division into the heavyweight division. He's already made his mark. He wants to be serious, and he knows the way to do that is to take out his mentor. Mm-hmm. To use him as a stepping stone, but in a respectful way. It's kind of an interesting fight here. Mm. So I do believe it's your turn first, right, Ken?
Yep.
Who do you have walking out of Wrestle Kingdom in this match? The student or the teacher?
Time Bomb.
Time Bomb goes over big. He makes big matches at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, that's the thing. He really stops it. And it's nothing against Naito.
No.
It's absolutely nothing against Naito, but I think this is his time.
Nick.
I'm going with Naito, the teacher. I think this plays out for a little while longer.
It's not quite the time.
Not quite the time yet. I think it's time maybe for a little bit of a heel turn.
Ooh.
Well,
maybe.
I will say you got to get the good old Naito. I hate going against Naito, but I do think I'm going to go with Takahashi in this match. I do think he's going to go over, and maybe that's what makes a little bit of a heel turn. Although, if I was booking this, if New Japan wanted to pull the big swerve of all time, could you imagine if there's another member? See, Los Ingobernables de Japón is because of Los Ingobernables. We got a lot of guys in AEW, like Rush and such, there's Los Ingobernables. But there's another member of the original Los Ingobernables who currently works for another company. And this person was under a mask when he worked in Mexico. What if the return of La Sombra goes down in New Japan? It would be the biggest swerve. I don't think it's going to happen because that means AEW would be in party with somebody who they did not end on good terms.
Oh, that would be messy. That would be really messy.
Because for you guys who don't know, La Sombra is Andrade El Idolo. That would be cool though to see him come out and defend Naito. They dropped the ball on that because there was a last year at Wrestle Kingdom that was a pitch to have him wrestle with Naito and not against Naito but with Naito because they were both members of the original Los Ingobernables, along with Rush and of course Dragon Lee. So you could hire the other Los Ingobernables guys. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm dreaming. This is obviously dream booking. As we're going into the overtime with one more match for this before we go to Wrestle Dynasty. And this one's the main event of the evening for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Your champion, and by the way, unlikely when he won this belt. Zack Sabre Jr., the leader of TMDK, the mighty don't kneel, the man who spends his time with the legend of Slapjack Shane Haste.
Yes.
Okay, so that alone makes him championship material. Not to mention he's the technical wizard. And he's going up against the man who is the number one contender for that title and the third member of the Musketeers, Shota Umino. That's right. No longer. Did you notice on AEW this past week? They did not say Shuda. They said Shota. So Shota Umino, we're going back. He's no longer Moxley's young boy. He's in the main event. He's fighting for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Nick, you get to go first here. This is a tough one. Who's walking out of Wrestle Kingdom as your IWGP World Heavyweight Champion?
Ian Still.
Ooh, ZSJ.
Yes.
Listen, I made a comment earlier, and I'm going to stick to it. The Three Musketeers have arrived. Shota Umino walks out world champion. Why? Not because I want to see Zack Sabre Jr. lose, but I think that they're going to be pushing the Musketeers. They're all in 3 major matches. I think they all walk out with belts. I think this is where the future's headed. In the future I almost said AEW. The future in New Japan Pro Wrestling is now. They're not putting it off. They're not putting the young guys to the back burner. They're pushing them forward. Not saying that Zack Sabre Jr. is super old, but he is a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying David Finlay is old. But these are guys who are already main eventers, and they're going to continue to be main eventers. Don't sweat it. They're not going to go anywhere.
Right.
I just think they're going to push the Musketeers forward now. Your pick, Ken.
ZSJ.
Yeah, I knew you weren't going to go against him.
Well, I mean, other than my sheer principle, the reason why I think they telegraphed this, unfortunately, with what they're doing at Dynasty, the fact that Shota is going to be facing Claudio,
Yeah, but Zack Sabre Jr. has a match too. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, I know, but I think for that storyline, I just don't think they would do it.
True.
But that's why I say if he wins, I would not be super shocked, but I'm going on, where my loyalty lies, and it's always with TMDK.
I like it. But you want to know what's funny? Not even 24 hours later, for not even the Japanese people, this is not 24 hours later, we have Wrestle Dynasty, AEW, CMLL, New Japan, Ring of Honor, Stardom, big giant conglomeration that we got going on here. Big show, the second year they've done this, but the first time they've done it in the Tokyo Dome. Technically in Japan, this is going down on January the 5th. I do believe it's a 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time start there. What this means, though, if you're watching EST, because it's going to be in the Niner notes here that Ken's going to put on screen, if you are watching this Eastern Standard Time, Wrestle Dynasty starts at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on January the 4th. So Wrestle Kingdom is at 3 a.m. Eastern Time on the 4th. Wrestle Dynasty starts at 11 p.m. Eastern on the 4th.
Yeah.
It is a long day of wrestling. I don't know if I can make it through both shows, but I'm going to make it through at least Wrestle Kingdom. Because I also have to work that day. We're going to find out. We're going to find out what goes on. So with that being said, let's talk about the card going down at Wrestle Dynasty, this big conglomerate show, because it's got a great one going on. Once again, we're kind of got to do this in the round because a lot of these don't have storylines because these are dream matches, which is fine. So let's talk about the pre-show. There is 2 pre-show matches. One is for the International Women's Cup Final. The winner will receive a women's championship match from the participating promotion of their choosing. So that means they can challenge either for the CMLL women's title, Stardom women's title, Ring of Honor women's title, or the AEW women's title. Your representatives representing AEW, Willow Nightingale. Representing CMLL, Persephone. Representing Ring of Honor, the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion, Athena. And representing Stardom, Momo Watanabe. Pretty good match. Who do you think is going to walk out with a title shot? We'll start with you, Ken.
Athena.
The forever champion.
Yep, because I think this is how she gets to the AEW title.
Ooh, I like it. Nick, who you got?
Yeah, no, I agree. Athena.
And you know what? I'm going to make it a clean sweep, Athena. For the same reasons. Next up, tag team match for the ROH World Tag Team Championships. Your champions, the Sons of Texas, Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. And they're taking on, representing New Japan Pro Wrestling, the House of Torture team of Sho and Kanamura. Who's walking out? ROH World Tag Team Champions, Nick.
And still.
I'm going to say and still because I don't think this title's changing hands. Ken.
And still.
There you go. Although I think it should change hands.
It should, but it won't here.
Yeah.
Next up, we don't have a match here, so I'm not going to have you guys pick, but there is going to be an 8-man lucha gauntlet match. 4 NJPW wrestlers against 4 CMLL wrestlers in a gauntlet match. That'll probably be the opening of the show. Next up, though, winner takes all match. Your NJPW Strong Women's Champion, Mercedes Moné, also your AEW TBS champion, but that belt's not on the line, taking on the undisputed British Women's Champion, Mina Sirakawa, technically representing Rev Pro here. Who's walking out with all the gold? Starting with me, actually. Let's be honest, it's the belt collector, Mercedes Money. Go ahead. You can.
Same.
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah.
CEO. All right, next up, the Young Bucks.
Wait, actually, before we get into that, so hypothetically saying if Willow wins that match, could she cash in that moment on Mercedes?
I mean, technically, I don't know if it's a cash-in rule, but technically, sure.
Yeah,
If
is it for the change? Well, I guess, yeah, she can challenge.
Because
for
of the cash-in rule, then I'll say Mercedes, but will it become someone with the belts?
Interesting. I can dig it.
Okay.
Sucker. So next on, we got a tag team match. By the way, this tag team match got a little, the stakes are upped
Yeah.
for the vacant IWGP World Tag Team Championships. Former IWGP World Tag Team Champions making their return to the ring in a couple months. It's been since we've last seen this team. The Young Bucks, or the Bucks of Youth, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. And they're taking on the man that they super kicked out of existence, the Great O'Khan, with a partner of his choosing. And it's still TBA'd. We still don't know who it is. I'll let you guys guess the partner and who's winning. Starting with you, Ken, because you go first here.
Omos is the partner.
Ooh, your new GHC World Tag Team Champion?
Yes.
Him and Jake Lee, by the way, if you guys didn't know, the Giant Omos is one half of the GHC World Tag Team Champions.
Yes. And the Bucks are going to win this, though.
I like it. Nicholas.
I'm going with the Bucks winning. I like that almost. That would be a good one. I don't know who else you could really do on such a stacked card that hasn't been around in a while. I'm gonna steal Ken almost.
I'm gonna disagree with both you gentlemen.
Okay.
Great O'Khan's winning. His tag team partner will be his former leader in the stable of the United Empire, Will Ospreay.
Whoa. Okay.
Okay.
Ospreay and Great O'Khan walk out your tag champs. Huge pop, by the way, for Ospreay. Now, mind you, I can see the Bucks winning this match too, but think about it. Ospreay would fit in here. He did feud with the Bucks.
Yeah. No.
And he does have a connection to Great O'Khan. Now they could go a million other ways, but he is not on the card technically.
It's true.
It'd be a hell of a return to Japan.
It would be amazing.
I think if you have Will Ospreay return to Japan, he has to win.
Yeah. If he is the mystery partner, yeah, it's done. He's winning. There's no question about that. I just don't. I mean, I'm okay with that. Like, don't get me wrong. I would love to see that. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I can see the Bucks winning though, especially since they said they're taking a sabbatical from AEW, which it feels like is good things. Like, I don't understand why all these people are taking sabbaticals, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Next up, in a battle of guys who are going to beat the living snot out of each other, David Finlay takes on Brody King. King Kong Brody King returns to Japan. He's taking on David Finlay. I know David Finlay's a little smaller than Brody King, but he likes to punch people in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a hell of a fight. Nick, who do you got winning in the Battle of the Badasses is what I'll call this one.
I have Finlay, but I think both people are going to be broken when this is over.
You know what? I'm going to say Finlay just because I think they got to give the bone to New Japan every once in a while. So Finlay's going to walk out, but this is going to be a hell of a match to watch. I'm here for it, Ken.
Can't go against the house. Brody is taking this one.
That'd be great. Next up could be for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship because Shota Umino could be your champion. And of course, representing the Death Riders, Claudio Castagnoli. By the way, my only argument against Shota not winning is the matches on this night, because we'll get to the one match that will probably be the main event in a minute. So with that being said, I don't think the belt will be on the line either way. Who do you got walking out, Shota or Claudio? Actually goes to me first. I think, once again, I think New Japan has to get some wins here. I think Shota should win because that sets up a Moxley-Shota match in the future in New Japan. Your choice, Ken.
It should be Shota. But it depends if Moxley wants to do some weird storyline thing and makes Claudio lay down for him. I don't want to see something like that, but I would say
I'm with you on this, but my reasoning for this is that I think that this is one of the few matches on the card that does have storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And with that storyline, I do believe that Claudio failing will mean that John Moxley has to look at Claudio and go, well, I have to go handle this myself. And that sets up for Moxley, who loves working in Japan, to return to Japan to take on his young boy.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nick.
I'm going to go with Claudio for reasons.
Yeah, Cat's going with you too.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, Claudio can definitely win this match. I just think storyline wise, and I think that there is definitely Moxley going back to Japan will happen. I think this is the best way to get him back to Japan for a match. Because like I said, he has to just look at Claudio and be like, you failed me, so now I have to go take care of business.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get the match that we all want to see, which is, the young boy against the teacher.
Yep.
Next up, though, is a match that I'm super stoked. Probably one of my matches that I want to see most on this card, and it's going to shock you because there's another couple matches that I want to see more, but this could steal the show. Ready?
Okay.
Yota Tsuji, who could be your global heavyweight champion, could be, taking on the scapegoat Jack Perry.
Yeah.
This match to me is a match of the night kind of feel, guys. Nick, who you got walking out of Wrestle Kingdom winning this match?
Scapegoat.
Dude, I don't bet against the scapegoat ever nowadays. So scapegoat it is for me as well. Ken.
Scapegoat New Japan is even money. You don't go against him. Jack Perry's taking this one.
I love it. Is he still a member of House of Torture over there?
That's a great question.
That's up in odds there, right?
Yeah, that's a really, really great question.
And I know Yota Tsuji's had his problems with House of Torture.
Yeah.
So this could be a good way for them to get back at Yota Tsuji as well. So there could be some storyline in this match that we're not even thinking about currently. Next up, we mentioned this before, is a singles match for the Never Openweight Championship and the AEW International Championship. So whoever's your champion with those out of Wrestle Kingdom, whether it's Takeshita or Tagagi, their prize for winning is to face and defend their title against the Stone Pitbull Tomohiro Ishii. Congratulations on beating the hell out of each other. Now you get to run into a Stone Pitbull.
Yep.
Which, by the way, is the most apropos nickname in wrestling history.
Yes.
Ishii is brutal, and I love him. I would throw a match, so I didn't have to do this. That's why I said Takeshita might throw the match against Powerhouse Hobbs. Now you take itself out of the equation completely, but Takeshita's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I know a lot of us said Takeshita was going to win. I know Kat did say Shingo was going to win, but who's going to walk out this night with both those belts? I get to start this time. I'm going to say instill no matter who it is.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm going with Kat on this one, Stone Pitbull.
Honestly, if Tagagi wins the night one, I think Stone Pitbull would win because he does more time in AEW.
Yeah.
That would be logical. Nick.
The Stone Pitbull wins.
He is a fresh one. He's fresh.
Yeah.
Somebody better put a mouth guard in.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about matches of the night, and there's a lot of matches of the night on this card as we're going into the overtime. But there's two that stand out to, I think, everybody. The first of which is a match that has been probably the biggest storylines of it. And it is the actual in-ring return of the best bout machine, the cleaner, Kenny Omega, not only to the ring, but to Japan. It's been a couple of years. And he's going out there and he's taking on a guy who has been brash and has made his way up the ladder and has made himself a big name in Japan and worldwide. He is an Australian wrestling phenomenon. He's a member of the Bullet Club War Dogs. He is cocky, brash, and arrogant, but he can back it up in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not familiar with Gabe Kidd, you should be. Coming into this match, Kenny Omega laid the challenge down after some things were said, but he gave Gabe Kidd the good job, kid. I'll give you the rub. Acted like he didn't know Gabe Kidd's name. Gabe Kidd's response to that is, you know damn well what my name is. And you can insult me all you want. And this is a great, by the way, this was a great promo.
Oh my
I know
God,
Ken saw it. If you haven't
amazing.
seen it yet, check out Gabe Kidd's. We call it a promo, but it was an interview. It was 7 minutes long. And he says, you said you don't know my name is, but you damn sure know what my name is. But if you don't, by the end of this match, I'm going to beat my name into you. All you are, Kenny Omega, is you're overrated. You ain't as good as I am. You never were. And I'm going to prove to the world that I'm the one that wins. Here it goes. Ken, you go first. Who's walking out the winner? Gabe Kidd, Kenny Omega.
You know what? Sometimes you got to go with the kid. I think Gabe Kidd wins this because I think Okada costs Omega this match.
Ooh.
I think that little tease, they're going to do something where Okada comes back and that whole crowd explodes, distracts Kenny. Like he comes out to the ring apron or something, and that's where Gabe Kidd takes advantage. But this is going to be Kidd's moment to shine.
Nick.
Gabe Kidd. It just makes for the more interesting story. Kenny Omega's big return, and he puts up an L. It's just a much more interesting story going forward.
I want to say this. Kenny Omega, the one thing you can say about him is a consummate professional, and he's never had a problem putting over people. I think his whole point of coming back, and I think this is part of the reason I think TK pulled the trigger what he did at the pay-per-view, is he wants to put this kid over.
Yeah.
Because think about it, he could have wrestled anybody he wants.
Mm-hmm.
He chose to wrestle this young kid. Now, mind you, if he wins, it's not going to hurt Gabe Kidd. If they have a match of the year candidate, Gabe Kidd comes out smelling like roses.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't come out of a loss against Kenny Omega looking bad, because Kenny Omega is not going to make you look like you can't wrestle. Kenny Omega goes out there, and they call him in Japan, they call him the best bout machine for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody puts on better matches than Kenny Omega in Japan specifically. But I agree with Kenton.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's going to be some kind of interference. Either we're going to have Okada interfere, or depending upon what happens the night before, David Finlay, who fancies himself as being the greatest leader of the Bullet Club ever. How do you solidify that? Well, you take out former leaders.
Take out the GOAT.
You can't take out Finn because he's in WWE,
Mm-hmm.
unless there was a deal made.
He took himself out, really.
Right. You can't take out Finn. You can't take out AJ for the same reason, right? He has taken out Switchblade Jay White.
Mm-hmm.
Leaves one left that he can get his hands on. That's Kenny Omega. So maybe Kenny wins and he gets jumped by David Finlay and the War Dogs, or maybe Gabe gets the upset because the War Dogs help him out. There's a lot of good story there. And by the way, that's a good story with Okada as well. You could do either one.
Yeah.
I'm just tying it into the Bullet Club. And that makes sense.
Oh, I mean, I'm not doubting multiple run-ins with this.
Oh, we could have by the end of this could be Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
The Bucks could come in and help Omega out of nowhere.
Yep. The Elite reforms.
You know, we could have a whole bunch of crazy stuff happening.
Jack Perry comes out with his
Scapegoat stuff.
Yep.
Darby Allin, fresh with an elbow drop off of Mount Everest.
Yep.
I don't know. I think he's climbing it as we speak, if I'm not mistaken. It was supposed to be in the beginning of January,
Yeah,
right?
I thought so.
Good luck to him. I hope he comes back safe. I love Darby Allin. He's crazy son of a bitch, but I love him. Anyways, yeah, I think this match is going to be amazing. And I don't think it's going to be a schmoz where it takes away from the match. This is going to be everything this is going to be like WrestleMania 40, in the world title match, Roman and Cody. That's the kind of levels of run-ins that I think is going to happen here.
Yeah.
It's going to be oohs and ahs, and we get a winner. I really think they're not going to drop the ball with this. Although if it does happen cleanly, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah,
especially if I think the way it happened cleanly is if Omega wins and kind of tries to give Gabe the handshake before he gets hit with that shillelagh.
Yeah.
And then you could have that storyline then, because Gabe Kidd making it, where's that leave him and David Finlay?
Mm-hmm.
So you could have Finlay versus Omega, but then you could have Gabe Kidd be like, you know what? F you, David Finlay.
Yeah.
You took my moment. So there's a lot of cool stories that can go on in this match. Last but not least, the main event of the evening. If he is still the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, Zack Sabre Jr., I don't think the belt's on the line either way, but he might be the champion, he might not. He's taking on a man who just turned heel, Ricochet. By the way, these two guys came up in the business, and this storyline it writes itself. It's always been since they were young. Zack Sabre Jr. is the best technical wrestler in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Ricochet is the best aerial wrestler in the world. And we always want to see the best aerial wrestler go against the best technical wrestler.
Yep.
Ricochet's taken a lot of L's lately on AEW television. I don't know what's going to happen here. I don't go first out. Nick does. So Nick, who's walking out of Wrestle Dynasty the winner?
I think this one's easy. Ricochet's taking another L.
Jobber to the stars.
Yeah, pretty much. And I like Ricochet, but not that much.
Looking at this politically, because that's what you have to look at joint shows as.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, whether he's the champion or he's the former champion, Zack Sabre Jr. is in the main event picture of New Japan. Ricochet, although having a good feud coming up, looking like a good feud coming up with Swerve, has taken a lot of L's. I think this is going to be a fantastic match. I think these two guys work amazingly together in the ring. I think the fireworks are going to go amazing. If you've ever seen these guys wrestle before, it was when they were younger. They tore it down. I think they're going to tear it down even more now that they both know a lot more. But I'm going ZSJ all day. Ken.
CSJ. I don't even like. They're going to have a hell of a match, and maybe they would even do a time limit draw. Who knows? But either way, ZSJ is not losing this one.
ZSJ.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, that'll do it for our coverage of Wrestle Dynasty, and that'll also do it for the show. We went a little long, but there's a lot of stuff going on out there. What does Cap got?
Okay, I was taking Ricochet.
Ricochet.
Can't see him losing his ESJ.
Taking wrestling's answer to Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a hell of a heel run.
Yeah, that run. I mean, even the spot he did with the golden scissors.
Jordan Peele's going to sue someone's ass.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Wild times.
With that being said, though, gentlemen, that could bring us to the end of the show. So, Nick, tell the fine folks how to talk about Pokemon and pro wrestling with you.
Well, I'd like to thank TK for allowing us to do the TK overrun here. So if you want to talk Pokemon, you want to talk some pro wrestling, you can follow me on Instagram. You can click that QR code right there. Or you can tune in every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where me and the other two Musketeers talk some pro wrestling on Wrestling Night Live.
I like it. Ken M., you got a laundry list.
All right. First and foremost, if you are new to Nerd Initiative, we love our QR codes here. So click on that QR code at the bottom of the screen. They'll take you everything going on with myself, Padawan J, and the rest of the ODPH team. New episode is out right now with our good friend off the cuff, Tom Craven. Pad is currently on the injured reserve. So speedy, healthy recovery is going out to him. So hopefully he will be back on the air next week. If not, you can catch him with the rest of the hardest working comic review team out there, bar none. Cat's a part of the team. Rich is part of the team. Dropping reviews, 30 of them on New Year's Day, I believe, was the final count. But nobody does New Comic Book Day quite like the Nerd Initiative bullpen. So click on that QR code. That'll take you to all the great reviews, letting you know what you need to pick up at the comic shops. And it is always led in by Turn a Page every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Nerd Initiative streaming. However, this past week was the 6th annual Nerd Initiative Cheersies Awards, which aired Monday night, and it has been the talk of the comics world. A lot of great surprises, all fan voted. We had some guests stop by, Josh Gad, Patton Oswalt, Jordan Bloom, and Tim Sheridan, and the team from Mass Republic, Michael Schwartz. We still have some more surprises coming too. Heather Antos as well. I apologize if I'm forgetting anybody right now.
I dropped in.
Yeah, well, Nick dropped in. Nick dropped in a comic show, folks. That is what made me pop right there. Yes, and in fact, Rich has a very special Cheersy award right there.
Yes, this is a gift that the winners of the Cheersy, not only do they get a little award, they get this beautiful Nerd Initiative pint.
Yes, to say cheers for all the hard work and amazing talent for the past years, because like I say, everybody that came away with awards definitely did an amazing thing. The Pedestrian team, that is who I was blanking on, but you should never forget about their amazing books. So shout out to Joey Esposito.
The three-peat.
Yes. Yeah, they walked away between them, DC Comics, and Ghost Machine, the big winners, according to the press release, which is out right now. So if you haven't checked it out, it is on Nerd Initiative YouTube right now. Go check it out. Go see who won. And more importantly, go support everyone that won those awards, because it is voted by you, the fans, and you made your voice heard for an amazing 2024.
There's another plug. Go out and get the issue of the year, which is actually in this book here, but it's issue number 2 was the issue of the year, but Alan Scott Green Lantern.
Yeah. Tim Sheridan, Kean Tormey, and the rest of the team there did amazing work. Both those gentlemen stopped by the show. Like I said, you need to go on there and see all the surprises that were there too, because I know I'm forgetting a lot, but it's been the talk of the comics world for a great reason. And you can see all the highlights on Nerd Initiative social media this week.
I promise I have nothing else in my bag, baby.
Oh,
baby. All right. With that being said, I'll make this short and sweet. 3FN. If you go to 3FNpodcast.com, all the social media links, that's how you can find me on social medias. If you would like to hear an adult humor movie review podcast, check out the 3FN podcast. We get lewd and crude. And this week, me and Ron, unfortunately, no Diesel, but me and Ron, dropping on Friday, by the way, me and Ron talk about Nosferatu. I love saying Nosferatu. Very, very artsy, very horny. But you want to check that out. Great performances, by the way. That's a little teaser, but check out the full review. That's dropping tomorrow on the 3FN, wherever you get great podcasts, searching 3FN. Next up, we are going to talk about nerdinitiative.com, the home of pop culture positivity. Go there for all those great reviews every Wednesday, but also go there for great articles about comics, TVs, movies, and more. Also, support the home of pop culture positivity. By the way, then take yourselves over, because I'm contractually obligated to mention the merch store. There's a link right here, but you can also get there from nerdinitiative.com. You can't get one of these glasses.
No, they're not.
But there's other cups on there that you can get.
Yes, they are.
So go ahead and get some cups, get some shirts. There is Wrestling Night Live /NI Wrestling and also Turn a Page /NI Ball Pin stuff. Maybe eventually we'll get the Just Nick t-shirts out there just because the public needs them, wants them. I want them and need them.
I want one.
Maybe I'll just make those and pass them amongst ourselves. With that being said, also, I would implore you, if you are watching us on Kick, Twitch, X, or Facebook, to make sure you use this QR code right here to go over to the Nerd Initiative YouTube channel. If you're already on YouTube, you've already got part of it done. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, click the bell icon for notifications so you know whenever we go live or whenever a new video is posted. And last but not least, hit that thumbs up. So the GEO Michael knows that you want more pro wrestling and other content on the home of pop culture positivity on YouTube, the Nerd Initiative YouTube channel. With that being said, thank you so much, everybody. I know this was a long one. Next week, we will be talking Raw on Netflix. We will be talking Wrestle Kingdom recap. We will be talking Wrestle Dynasty recap and more. But until then, for myself, for Ken, for Nick, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and most importantly, later, wrestling fans.